Welcome everybody to our second ever Fitness, Food, and Fun. It's a chat with Annie Mack, and today I am very happy to be joined by Dr. Latasha Raineault. She is a physical therapist for Hartford Healthcare. I want to give a couple high-level things about Latasha that I know about you, and then Latasha, go ahead and feel free to fill us in on any other things about you. But obviously, you're a doctor of physical therapy. When I first started CrossFit, you were absolutely one of the best athletes in there, men or women. And that was even at a time 5 years ago that we had some really big time people in there. We had CrossFit athletes actually in the gym. You are or were a Division I track athlete for the University of Hartford, I believe, on scholarship. You also have an Instagram profile, momstrongforlife, and give you a chance to talk about that a little bit. And I think overall, your whole family sort of stays together and stays fit. But is there anything else about you that you'd like to share with people that I didn't cover from a high level that would be important for them to know about you?
Yeah, so I think, some part of me that's huge is I'm a mom of two little girls, and I have a lovely husband who makes up our little family of four. But yeah, I'm a physical therapist who specializes in sports medicine. I also enjoy working with my dizzy patients, so I do some vestibular rehab too. And I also take on an adjunct role at University of Hartford as well. So I've done a few different courses there, but coming up this next semester, I'll be joining into the musculoskeletal exam and intervention lab, which I'm excited to jump back into that because it's been a few years since I've been in the world of academia, but I'm excited.
So physical health, I think we could say, is easily a big part of your life.
For sure. For sure.
So, this is fitness, food, and fun. So the first thing that I want to do is give you a chance to talk about how does fitness fit into your life? Where did it start? Maybe like, did you start at a young age? I know, obviously, I mentioned this, that you were D1 track athletes. You were obviously doing it in high school and doing it at a very high level. So where did it all start for you, and what is fitness in your life today?
So I was always an athletic kid. We had a neighborhood filled with lots of kids, and we would do, the backyard games and whatnot. And I always knew that I was fast because I could chase down a lot of the boys in the neighborhood and playing tag and things like that. But it never really came together for me in a sport. In fact, I had tried a bunch of different sports like soccer and basketball, and it never really stuck. I never really loved the team sport aspect. I think I always had I didn't really like people touching me. I didn't really like I don't know. I think it's like the accountability of feeling like the game was like on me, even though it was a team sport. So I just realized, very early on that didn't feel great for me. And it actually was in gym class my freshman year of high school where, again, just playing a game. And I ran down one of the guys in the class playing capture the flag. And my gym teacher was like, "You are going to run track, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it." And yeah, and that kind of kickstarted everything. I felt fortunate to have some really great coaches in high school, and they really recognized that I had some skill, but guided me in a direction where they knew that I would be able to get an opportunity to compete at a higher level. So they guided me towards some small Division I schools with some smaller programs where I could be successful. So University of Hartford, even though I grew up in Connecticut, wasn't on my list, but they really guided me towards that, and it ended up working well and gave me the opportunity to, work my way through school with less debt than I came out with. Like that brought me to my college career. It took a few years to gain some success there, but ultimately by the time I graduated, I had some really great success and ended up becoming a multi-eventer. I was a hurdle or a high jumper and a 400-meter runner in high school. And I had a coach who realized that if I strung together a bunch of different things, I would probably be more successful than if I focused on those two individual things. And he was right. So I ended up being a heptathlete and won my conference championship meet my senior year. But it took a lot of failing and struggling through all of those 7 events before it became successful.
You had sort of a late discovery of your ability. So here you
Yeah.
were just a kid going
Hmm.
along, and little did you know that you were, at a very high level, D1 level talented. And one of the things that you said I thought was interesting too was you had some success against boys. And I know the perspective of when you're a little kid or in our society, boys versus girls, right? And if you're a girl and you beat a
Mm.
boy, did that give you like this huge sense of confidence that really kickstarted you in this direction of athletics and fitness?
I would say, so I think growing up, I didn't really see it that way because I was one of the very few girls who was like out there playing with the boys
Mhm.
in our neighborhood. So I didn't even really see it as like a comparison of being better than them versus being better than girls because there wasn't really anybody else to compare to. But I think by the time I got to high school and realized that I was running down kids and, some of the gym class games, that gave me a perspective that, okay, all right, maybe this could be something.
You mentioned that you had some really good coaches. Can you talk a little bit about how they maybe helped you along in your high school days and then and towards into college?
Yeah. So my high school coaches, shout out Peter Corbett and Aaron Flamino, they were excellent. So two math teachers. So, track is one of the most objective sports out there, right? So you have two math teachers who can break down any race, any workout, any exercise, anything that you're doing and really nail down, the efficacy of your workouts. It's not like, oh, try to run this pace or, go a little bit harder. It was like you are running 300 at 43 seconds and like, and this many repeats. And it was very mathematically driven, which I think was it was excellent. Our team was really strong. We had a really, great season and did well there. And then when I got to college, I had some really great personalities, some really great coaches who guided. But at University of Hartford, I had one head coach, and then by the time I was there, I think we went through like 5 or 6 different assistant coaches. It's a really small program, small budget, so it was really hard to keep people, especially in the assistant coach role. And it was finally when we got one coach who stuck around for a while, Rob Witten, who had an experience in the multi events and kind of took me under his wing and really saw some potential and forced me to do some things and step out of my comfort zone. And yeah, so I'm really grateful for that because I think in all of my scenarios, it's people pushing me out of things that maybe felt comfortable for me. That's where the growth happens. That's where the magic happens, as I say. But I feel fortunate to have been, placed in that position during that time frame because I mean, Rob didn't stay with the program that much longer. I think the year after I was done, he moved on to URI and has since moved on to University of New Hampshire in like progressive, progressive roles. So I just happened to be at the right time at the, right place, right time to get some coaching who put me in a position and changed me to a place where I actually had some success versus some frustrations during my first few years at the school.
And I think that's really important. I was a coach myself for a number of years, coaching high school wrestling. So I know how much of an influence you can have on kids and, what kind of a difference that you can make in their lives. And so I think that I just find your story really interesting because it was kind of like coaches sort of discovered you and then nurtured you along the way. And I think it's the saying like it takes a village to raise a child in a sense. And so it really, you can't just do it on your own, like people that become great successes like you did in track, it took people to kind of help you along the way through high school and even to discover you in elementary school, some teachers to say, hey, you're really fast, do you think you want to run track, maybe something you never thought of before in your life, and then it becomes something that's maybe still a big part of your life. I don't know if you follow it anymore or not, but that could be a good transition for us to get into to say, hey, what is fitness in your life today?
Yeah. So fitness in my life today has really gone through, man, such a transition from coming out of college, right? So you leave college, I was a track athlete. That was like, if that's how fitness was, that's how exercise was for me. It was practice with a team, grueling. And then you leave and I like kind of floundered, right? Like I went to the gym and like didn't really know what to do, would like do some of the stuff that we would do in, lifting, but then was like intimidating because you're not around like your teammates, right? I'm not going to I didn't feel comfortable doing hang cleans or squat, like doing things that felt very second nature in a weight room. Wasn't going to do that at like Planet Fitness or New York Sports Club or wherever I was at the time. So I found myself in a weird, like, I don't know, like rat race of treadmills and ellipticals and really trying to transition and kind of change, I don't know, change the type of workouts that I was doing and not really like lending to much success. I dabbled in some distance running, which felt awful always. I ran a few half marathons and some 5Ks and stuff like that because that just felt like the next progression, right? Like, and you wanted to still stay in the running community. It's not like you can play pickup track meet, like nobody's got a high jump mat in their backyard that you can just go and use.
You couldn't round up
So I
a group
started
of
trying to
those
do that, and
sprinting
no one wants to do wind sprints up your street. You look crazy. So yeah, that's where like yeah, it kind of like floundered for a while until I met Mr. Mark Balkin, who was a coach at New York Sports Club, which is adjacent to where I currently work. And then when he left that gym and opened up his own gym with Kevin Doyle, that kind of took me over there. And for the first time, transitioning into like the world of CrossFit, it felt excellent, right? So I had spent a few years just exercising for like aesthetics to try to like burn calories and aiming to achieve like abs, which now thinking back to it, like you're never going to get there with like 90 minutes on an elliptical and like 5 crunches, right? But it felt good to actually exercise and work out and lift and feel strong again and feel athletic. And that's where we really kind of fell in love with CrossFit. And I loved the fact that I was celebrating my body for what it was doing versus a number on a scale. Aesthetics were like a nice, like positive benefit from the hard work that you're putting into the gym, but it wasn't a primary focus. And for me, that felt like a much healthier way to exercise. Fast forward, one child, kept going strong, really pushed through, had a really healthy, active pregnancy, came off of that. And I'd say in between my first child, Maya, and my second, like that time frame, I feel like I was the strongest I think I ever have been, in terms of like 1 rep maxes and things like that. That's when I hit my peak. I got that, truly did get that mom strength that just gave me that boost. But then with added, work responsibilities and adding a second kid into the mix, it just became harder and harder to get to a scheduled gym class. It became harder to show up for 4:30 or 5 o'clock, or, recognizing that coming to a gym class or, a workout at a gym was time away from my family. So I'd say over the last like 2 years, I've transitioned from in-person fitness to at-home fitness. And that's definitely been, even through there, that's been like I think a journey for myself, along the way, figuring out what I needed for my body. And for a time frame, it was different than what it currently is.
and this is really your mom strong for life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had Sydney, and then I just recognized that I was trying to build back up my strength. I was trying to get back to where I was before getting pregnant with her. And it was just happening a little bit slower than when I had Maya and coming off of that. And part of that was intentional. I recognize that from having my getting back into exercise, I felt like I had something to prove. I felt like I had to bounce back. I had to get right back into things and get all my skills back and get back to the weights that I was with. But with Sydney, I think I gave myself a little bit more grace. I gave myself the ability to actually take the time to allow my body to heal, pay attention to what my body needed, really get better in tune with my core, paying attention to things like pelvic floor health and all the stuff that women really need after having a child that, isn't glorified. It's not the thing that you hear. You go to your, after you have a baby, you have one doctor's visit where they're like, yeah, you're good. Slowly, gradually get back to stuff. And I found that that just wasn't the case. I needed a little bit more time. So I started my Mom Strong for Life Instagram page just as a way to kind of hold myself accountable. I was going through some things and I felt like other women might be interested in hearing, my journey, my story, be interested in the types of things that I was working on. So I've just had fun with that, kind of documenting what I do in terms of workouts, but also providing some education from a PT standpoint, some tips and tricks, some posture things that we all can work on. But it's been really fun. And I've met, a lot of interesting people along the way. And I've met some moms across, the country and even the world that are following my page that now it's funny. There are people who I know who, my internet friends. And yeah, so and I've gradually just ramped up my fitness, progressively going from a little bit more gentle things that my body needed at the time to pushing some body weight workouts and some light weights at home to, as of recently, I just started doing some new programming that has been really awesome. It's CrossFit kind of based, but it's nice to challenge myself in that way, but in my garage. I can wake up in the morning, go into the garage, do my workout, get a shower in before the kids wake up, and then go about my day versus taking the time out of my day to get to the gym.
So do you feel like, I think that's really interesting how you got from point A to point B. You talked about the first pregnancy with Maya. Now I was there for the second pregnancy. So I'm with you while you're at CrossFit. And anyone that has or hasn't done these workouts, I mean, they're very intense. And I saw you make a lot of smart decisions. So I think it's really interesting. And what I find most interesting about it is like when you're a big time athlete, one of the hardest things to do is, like you said, you want to do your top things. You want to hit your PRs on it all. So why am I not doing, these things at these high levels? Do you feel like you had a little bit of an awakening in a sense? It's got to be like a big growth to take you from that mindset of I have to do my peak things to, hey, I got to peel it back a little bit. And then how that led you into Mom Strong for Life. I find that pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And I don't know. And I think it's part of it has to do, I think, I don't know, just the confidence you gain from one child to a second, or even just the growth that I had within myself. I think after Maya, I just felt like I had something to prove. I don't know if it was to myself. I don't know if it was to other people. After Sydney, I just didn't care. I didn't like,
Mhm.
I recognized that, I want athleticism. I want exercise. I want fitness to be literally part of my life forever. Right. Hence the Mom Strong for Life. Like I want to be able to, when I'm 70, do some squats in my garage. I want to be able to stay active and do those things. And I just knew that by pushing myself in a way that my body was giving me all the signs that it just wasn't quite ready for, or just things like just weren't working, that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to injure myself. And I think, CrossFit can get a bad rap here and there, but it really comes down to ego. Like it's not the workouts that injure people in CrossFit, it's the ego.
Mhm.
And I recognized that my ego was giving me some challenges. And after having Sid, I was able to put that ego aside and recognize what my true goals were and develop a game plan from there.
So the second part of fitness, food, and fun is food. So I'm pretty interested to
Mm,
hear, where has food been in all of this? I know in
yes.
CrossFit, eating healthy is preached, right? It's the full cycle. How do you maintain these workouts? You, as a physical therapist, this has to be something that you talk about on a daily basis. But how does food fit into your life today? Talk a little bit about food.
Food. I love food.
And
So
that's what
food for me,
we're here.
I think, I largely see food as fuel. I have, you know, kind of dived in to learn about the different macronutrients. And I've gone through time periods where I've done some tracking and I've kind of learned where my body lends to and what it prefers. And I know for like myself, like if i'm if i'm if I'm trying to sustain the energy I need for a work day, like I need to pack on the protein and I need to pack on some fats and I need some carbs to bring me through the day. So I tend to eat I eat healthy, right? But I'm definitely more like, like an 80-20 kind of person, maybe even like 75-25, right? So I don't feel like I don't restrict myself from anything. If I want chocolate, I'm going to have chocolate, but I'm just not going to eat a whole candy bar. I might have some here and there. But in general, I've also learned that my body prefers some things over others. Like as I've gotten older, I've become more and more lactose intolerant. So when I eat dairy, my body does not like me. So I choose to, eliminate that pretty largely from my diet unless I decide not to, so like last night we had pizza. I knew that my body wasn't going to love me. So I took some extra probiotics and like crossed my fingers and, I did okay. But, so just learning what my body likes, what it doesn't like, it feels its best when I'm eating, a healthy amount of vegetables and proteins. And I think for my own like mental psyche, it also enjoys when I throw in some beer and wine and some chocolate and, cookies here and there too. So I really think it's a balance. And I think understanding and listening to what your body prefers or doesn't prefer and how you feel after it. I'm somebody who my blood sugar tends to drop. I work some long days. I work from, you know, 9 to 8 some days. Those are days where I have to be really conscious of how I feel myself. I pack my morning with some protein and have some staggered snacks of fats and proteins and carbs throughout the day. I can't have a heavy carb lunch or else I, crash by the time it gets to my 7 o'clock patient. So just learning and being intuitive about how I feel when I'm eating certain things, and then just making the conscious decision to either avoid them or indulge in them, knowing that I'm either, not going to feel great or maybe pay for it.
And so you mentioned your love for food. So I want to hear a little bit more about
Yeah.
that love for food. And when you got into the talking about the balancing, you sort of mentioned some of those things that you balance out with that I think probably lead into your fun. But maybe tell us about your favorite foods or what is it that you love about food?
So I'd say the favorite food is like that's one of the hardest questions ever. And I feel a little envious when people can be like, it's that. Because I really like so many different types of food. I would say if we are going to get takeout or if we're going out for food, I love a good Asian food. I love Thai food. Drunken noodles is one of my favorite dishes. When we're looking at Uber Eats, I'm always gravitating to some Asian restaurants, and that's never Jordan's like go-to pick. So, so I'm like, Thai, maybe we can get sushi. So I definitely love, some Asian cuisine. I don't know, but like pizza's delicious and burgers are great. Right? So, yeah, I feel like, for the sake of saying a favorite, I'm gonna say, like, some Asian cuisine, probably Thai, and, like, my favorite Thai dish is either I like a massaman curry too, but a drunken noodles is, like it's great. But, yeah, no, I definitely do love to indulge with some delicious foods of those sorts, but, you know, with that being said, sometimes a delicious salad is what my body's craving, and I will lean into that.
And when you're going for these foods, I mean, or what are you thinking about? Are you just thinking about, hey, I want to have the the best tasting thing in my mouth right now, because it's fun? Or are you thinking about that? You've mentioned the body feel a few times, so I'm curious to think if that weighs in on your decisions. And you mentioned the 75-25. So when you're doing the 25, maybe not, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so it depends. It definitely depends, like, the quality of the food, right? So I have to, like sometimes when you I don't know, I feel like sometimes a splurge is worthy of a splurge if it's gonna be something good, right? So if somebody has, like, a tray of, those generic Italian cookies that all taste the same, that's probably patients bring in, like, lots of delicious treats here and there.
Mhm.
Someone brings in, like, some of those cookies, I probably am not gonna go for that, right? Like, that's not gonna be something that I'm gonna, like, splurge on. Someone brings in a tray of, I don't know, like, hot, out of the oven chocolate chip cookies that look like they're warm and chewy in the center, I'm probably gonna have several of those, right? So, that's also something that, like, I pay attention to too, right? Is it, like does it feel worth it? Does it feel like it's something that's going to really give me the joy that I'm looking for? Then yeah, I'm gonna go all for it. But if it's something that, doesn't really feel like it's gonna serve me the way I want it to, I'm easy to pass there. But I think I like, aside from dairy, I really, if I'm choosing, I mean, I would say, like, if we're going out to eat, right? If we're going out to eat, or if we're getting takeout, which happens, like once, maybe twice a week, those are the times where I'm going to get what I want to get. But when it comes down to core meals that we eat during the week, I'm pretty conscious about what I'm putting into my body, right? So Sundays are kind of my sacred meal prep day. They take a few hours to really prep for the week. Lots of roasted vegetables, steamed vegetables. I usually will make, usually like three different like meals to go off of, just so we just set the tone for the week in a little bit of a better way. And that's just been helpful for one, a time management thing, and to ensure that I'm getting in some good stuff. So it's less likely that I'm going to grab, I don't know, pizza from Whole Foods, or a quick grab and go lunch or something like that that isn't necessarily as healthy. So for me, meal prepping is, it's huge. It has to happen, or else I'm floundering through the whole week trying to just figure out what to eat when. And partly is that's my work schedule too. I get home late 2 nights a week, and the nights that I get home early, it's nice to not have to really worry about it. Something's in the fridge, something's in the freezer. I can just pop it in the oven or heat it up, and it's there and ready to go.
So one of the things that you mentioned was the joy that you get from patients bringing in, maybe they brought you in some hot, fresh cooked chocolate chip cookies, right? So there's some joy in eating foods that you enjoy, and you
Oh
mentioned
yeah.
that with eating out. You were a former track athlete. We covered that, and you have Mom Strong for Life. So the third part of our talk today on fitness, food, and fun is fun. So what is fun in Latasha's life?
So one of the things that I'm really missing in this whole COVID world is just the social interaction, right? I'm a really outgoing person. I tend to find myself in several social circles. I've kept in contact with some great friends from high school, college, work, and otherwise, and some friends in town. So I'm really missing that interaction, the interaction of hanging out with different groups of people, socializing in the way that we like to socialize. So that's something that we definitely do for fun. And I really enjoy doing for fun, that I'm missing. We found some ways to make it safe and do things in a way that feels comfortable, and, without compromising anybody. Trying to get outside and get together with some friends and go for walks, and, have glasses of wine across the backyard, campfires and stuff like that. But that's definitely the thing that I'm really looking forward to once the world is vaccinated and COVID is less prevalent, and we're able to break bread and drink drinks with our favorite people.
Yeah, I think it's we're in an absolutely unprecedented time, but it sounds like the things that make you happy is your connection with people, which I think is also
For
interesting because
sure.
about your story from the beginning, it was your connections with people that kind of took you along your path in life, and you chose a profession that's basically you connecting with people and helping
Yeah.
people. One other aspect I know about you, obviously you're very family oriented, right? And I think that you guys do a lot of active things together. So maybe talk about that a little bit on how does that bring you joy?
Yeah. So, one of the things that's been really, while I have been missing the friend aspect, it's been a great reminder to just slow down and to enjoy the time with the little people and the people that are in the four walls of my home, right? Our daughters are 5 and almost 2. And so those ages are, I mean, they're so dynamic, and there's just so much going on and so much changing every single day. And we've really enjoyed being able to just spend time with the girls and find some really interesting places or exploring places that we've been to, a million times before, just like, oh, and we have a new puppy. So we're trying to find ways to get ourselves outside, even though it's cold, going to some of the local farms and just walking some of the trails, or just getting ourselves out and playing with the dog. And that's been a lot of fun with the girls, is just, like there's a park in town, Westmore Park, and there are animals. And during normal times, the barn is open and you can walk around. And so during COVID, they've closed out the barn, but we've started going there and exploring the trails that we never had really explored before. So that's been a lot of fun with the girls, just seeing them getting outside and exploring. And we went on a little scavenger hunt, searching for different things in the woods. So yeah, getting out there with them and just really slowing down and enjoying the phases that they're both in, and being able to kind of relish in the fact that our weekends aren't as overbooked like I typically put them. It's not uncommon for me to have a plan of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And when we look at our weekends and they're completely clear, um, I think that was a moment, that was something at the beginning that I sat in a lot of discomfort with. And now I can actually think of, okay, like, what are we going to do together as a family? Or how are we going to break up our day? Or what are we going to do to, keep ourselves preoccupied or enjoy each other's company? And I'm finding some really great enjoyment and satisfaction in just being able to slow down and enjoy those little moments, and experience kind of all that is at both of these ages, because they're challenging and rewarding for different reasons. But yeah, I think if we were as booked as I usually put us, I would be missing out on some of these little things. So trying to see the the glass half full on some things that feel challenging.
It's just kind of interesting to me that the really fast person is finding a lot of enjoyment in slowing down in life.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah, but it's taken me how many months to be into this, right? So it's taken me several months to pivot, right? To pivot and to make that transition. I think it was definitely uncomfortable and challenging, and there was, missing out on all of that. And now it's like, oh, I don't have to move a mile a minute. I don't have to, constantly keep going. It's okay to slow down and just kind of sit in the stillness, or sit in the nothingness. And it's okay to be bored. We're learning a lot about being bored and how to work through that.
you mentioned this is the COVID period, and one of the things that you get the most joy about is it being around people, and we just talked about all the things that you do with your family. But let's just say there's no COVID, right? You got a week off, you got a vacation, you got whatever long weekend. What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna eat? Tell people what would be your idea of a fun time.
Man, so the first thing that pops into my head is like a long weekend in Newport. That would be amazing, right? Um,
I like Newport.
and you know, I love Newport. A nice in Newport. There's so many great restaurants there. A nice like cliff walk. Let's fast forward to the temperatures being like 80 degrees and getting able to go to the beach. Yeah, I just love, I love the beach. I think, the New England coastline is so beautiful. And I would just, yeah, I'd love to be able to, or like sit somewhere with some live music.
Yeah.
Man, live music is great. Yeah, I would say, yeah, Newport, long weekend, lots of restaurants, lots of drinks, some live music, and if it's warm, a good beach day.
So sounds like a pretty fun time.
Right? Doesn't
Pretty fun
doesn't that
time.
sound amazing?
You forgot that those things actually exist anymore. Actually, now that you're
Right?
bringing them all up. Um,
Right.
Last thing I want to give you a chance to do is just say, hey, we're fitness, food, and fun. How do you see all those things either tying together in your life, or maybe they don't tie together? And just I want to hear your perspective on that.
Hmm. Well, I would say, fitness and fun tie together perfectly for me. I find fitness to be fun, and it's something that is one of my hobbies. I think exercise and fitness and being active is something I get a lot of enjoyment out of. Food is the fuel that keeps all that going. It keeps you running, keeps you going strong, and it allows you to have some extra enjoyment and fun with some things that are a little gratuitous and delicious that make things worth it. So they definitely they fit together just perfectly.
I I love it. Perfect. So in closing, I want to say thank you very much, Doctor.
Thanks for having me.
That was great. I'm really glad to have you. Your story is great. I think a lot of people are going to have some really nice takeaways from this. So thank you for
This is so cool. This is good for you.
what's that?
Absolutely. I said good for you. This is an awesome endeavor for you.